Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Milkshakes Markets Madness. My name is Jon Kutsmeda. This is Brent Johnson, and you are watching a financial and investing show. If you're unfamiliar with either one of us or new to this channel, we encourage you to head on over to the YouTube channel. We have a playlist at the top that says Start Here. It'll take you down the rabbit hole of the dollar milkshake theory, which Brent is most well known for, and some of the other things that we discuss on the show. It'll give you a good broad overview of our macro viewpoint on the global financial system and many of the themes that we dive a little deeper on in our conversations. This is a flash market update, something that we're starting to introduce so that we can keep in touch with everybody more consistently throughout the week. One of the things we wanted to talk about in this particular episode is Bitcoin and some of the price action, Brent, that you're noticing, and had a comment on Twitter, which obviously turned into some very interesting discourse.
Yeah, so, where do I even start with this one? So, I have been accused of being a Bitcoin hater. And the reality is I don't hate Bitcoin. I actually find it really fascinating on a personal level. I just don't think it's going to work out the way many people think it does. And listen, if Bitcoin ends up going to $1 million, that'll be just fine. I have a lot of friends that own a lot of Bitcoin, so hopefully they'll invite me to, fly on their private jets and all that kind of stuff. Bitcoin has had a big move over the last 2 or 3 months. I think it's up 40% in 3 months, and it's at, the mid 30, I think it was at 3,400 this morning or 3,500. And it was kind of there a few days ago. It pulled back and it ramped up there again today. And it was, it's a Fed meeting. I don't think that the Fed is doing this huge pivot to being ultra dovish. And I think we could have some more volatility ahead. And I think that Bitcoin is a pure play on global liquidity. And so I thought this was a good opportunity and a good time that, maybe Bitcoin's due for a pullback. And so I bought some puts. And I didn't go crazy. It's not my whole portfolio, and I'm not going to get wrecked if it doesn't work out, and I'm not going to stay poor if these puts don't pay off. But, I just, but part of it too is, it's the Fed day, and there's nothing to do until 2:00. So I thought, well, let's buy some puts and let's put it on Twitter and see what people have to say about it. Well, you can imagine they had something to say about it.
Well, buying puts in this particular situation, like you just said, you had some time to kill. It was almost like just an excuse for you to be able to start some trouble. Particularly, you caused some trouble and some stir, not because you bought the puts, but because some of the comments you made around Blackrock and the ETF, and obviously you're doing this to stir up some comments, but I think there's some color or context that you should provide on that comment.
Yeah.
And perhaps start by sharing what that tweet or comment was.
Yeah. Again. Okay. So the comment is half in jest. And I guess if you don't know me and you don't realize that I have a sarcastic a persona, perhaps you could totally interpret it completely wrong. Now, there is a little bit of truth to it, and that's what kind of makes things kind of fun and interesting, is every joke has a little bit tinge of truth to it. So the comment that I made was, if you were BlackRock and you were getting ready to launch a Bitcoin ETF, would you prefer that the price be low when you go buy all that Bitcoin, or would you prefer that it's at its all-time high or at least a 2-year high or whatever it was, when you do that? And, and I said that after I'd bought the puts, kind of implying that BlackRock was going to do something to smash the price and therefore buy it lower. Now, whether or not BlackRock has any ability to do that or not is who the hell knows. But I thought it was kind of funny, so I threw it out there. And of course, everybody comes in. Do you even know how an ETF works? And okay, yes, I know how an ETF works. Yes, I know that it's not actually BlackRock's money, it's the investor's money that goes in and buys it. Yes, I know they charge it fees, so a higher Bitcoin price probably gets them more fees. But I also know that if you launch an ETF and then 9 months later it's down 50%, that's probably not attracting a whole lot of inflows. Whereas if you buy something, or if you launch an ETF and it's up 50% after 6 months, that's a lot easier to sell. So, again, is there huge incentive for the price to be lower when BlackRock launches their Bitcoin ETF? Probably not. But is there a little incentive? Maybe so. But in any event, there's a great way to get some engagement going and to hear what people's comments were. And as you can imagine, they did exactly what I knew that they would do.
Well, I mean, one could even play devil's advocate with you and say, even if, if I want to agree with your viewpoint that, these big entities that get their hands into everything. And of course, it's taken this long for a Bitcoin ETF to get approval because the BlackRocks haven't had their hand in the mix yet. But being that for, let's say 2023, Bitcoin is up almost 100%. I mean, it's roughly 80. So you add another little bit from this recent bounce, which almost completely came off the fact that one, we had the war premium in the Middle East. Then we had the conversations around treasury issuance, and then the ETF really spiked that further. So one could say that they've already, if their goal was to accumulate, would have already accumulated. And if an ETF was right around the corner, to your point, this is, a perfect time to kind of launch something like this, because you do have one of the only assets that's massively outperformed everything else. What are some of the other comments that you were seeing that either made you giggle or you thought, in the right type of context would be a valid point?
Well, I thought, again, the people who say, do you even know how an ETF works? Now, listen, this is a very valid point. And it's actually one that I've talked to people about before when they'll say, you've seen these other conspiracy theories where BlackRock's taking over the world because they're going to own all the houses in the country. Well, again, BlackRock doesn't really own the houses. It's all the investors who are in the BlackRock funds that own the houses, right? And so I think that is there, again, for somebody who's just being super technical and not kind of in on the joke, yeah, that's a good point. If somebody's trying to understand how an ETF works, it's not actually BlackRock's money that's going into the ETFs. It's the investors who invest in BlackRock. They buy the ETF, and so they would be the ones that actually have the exposure to the Bitcoin, not necessarily BlackRock itself. Now, there's another part to it, though. When you launch an ETF, there is a seed investor. Somebody has to put up the initial money to go in and get it started, and then that attracts other people. To be honest, I don't know if BlackRock seeds their own ETFs. I assume that they do, so I assume that there would be some BlackRock money in there, but it'd probably be de minimis compared to the amount of assets that they were able to attract. But, some of the comments like that, the talking about how an ETF actually works, I think that's valid. And again, for people who don't know how an ETF works, that some of those explanations were good explanations.
Got it. Well, again, guys, this is a midweek flash update. We're going to keep them concise. Hopefully you got some value from this conversation. Bitcoin, anything around crypto, but particularly when it comes to Brent and Bitcoin, it does get a little bit of some feistiness involved. So anyone who's a Bitcoin fan comes across this video and disagrees, we welcome you to the comments. We'd love to hear your view on it. We do have a bit of fun both here on the channel and on Twitter. So don't take too much of it personal. We're all here to learn. And again, we welcome open-minded comments and in your view on what Brent shared here today. If you want to do that directly with him on Twitter, he welcomes that discussion as well there. And you can find him using the handle Santiago AU Fund. You can find me at Jon Kutsmeda. And you can find this show both on Twitter and on YouTube using the handle Milkshakes Pod. That'll do it for this flash market update. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Who likes short shorts?
We like short shorts!
This show is provided for entertainment and informational purposes only. It should not be relied upon as legal, business, investment, or tax advice. Neither the hosts, guests, nor any funds they may manage intends to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies.